Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Star Wars Expanded Universe. Now redone by Disney, or current Lucasfilm. Merge the two together, whatever you want to call it. Legends. So, we have yet another trilogy today. The Jedi Academy trilogy. Of course, this is another divisive but yet also really important book in the Star Wars Expanded Universe, because this basically makes it a precedent for the future going forward of the Star Wars EU. The New Jedi Order series, Legacy, the Force, all of that. You need a Jedi Academy in order to have a New Jedi Order. And so that's what we're going to get in these books. Because, as of now, we've basically really only had Luke as the last remaining Jedi. I mean, we have Mara Jade, who is mentioned in this book, but she's not really with Luke right now. She's not, trying to become a Jedi at this point. She's, still trying to help out the new smuggler coalition or whatever it is. So really, it's been Luke this whole time, during the... I mean, I know there were, like, Dark Jedi or whatever during the Dark Empire series, but they're not, Jedi to train. And then we had, like, the one dude in Dark Empire. But it's mainly just been Luke, so now's the time to change that. And that's really what this trilogy is about. As for this book specifically, for a non-spoiler type of introduction, Luke goes to the Jedi Council. There's no Jedi Council. He goes to the New Republic Council, and he tells them, hey, I'm the only Jedi Master, and, when infighting and stuff happens, during the Old Republic, we had the Jedi be, like, mediators for the rightful government. And so I think it's time for me to train up a new bunch of people to be the new Jedi for you guys. So he wants a base and a place to train new Force potential people. Meanwhile, Han and Chewie are on a diplomatic mission to the planet Kessel. Kessel has a long history in the Expanded Universe. Spice mines. And so that's what they're going to do. What happens? You're going to have to read the book to find out what happens with Han and Chewie. Leia's she's at home. All three children were in hiding due to the events of Dark Empire. Jason and Jaina have come back to Coruscant. Anakin Solo is still back in hiding with Leia's close friend and assistant, Winter. And she's just doing diplomatic stuff right now, and, doing government sort of stuff. And so that's basically the non-spoiler, really, like, part of Jedi Search for this first book. It's pretty fun. I enjoyed it. Nothing's gonna compare to the Thrawn trilogy. I might like New Jedi Order and Legacy of the Force and all that stuff more than I like the Thrawn trilogy, but it's really good. It's a different atmosphere and tone, I guess I'd say, than the Thrawn trilogy. This is I don't know, it's got kind of like a more upbeat, I don't know how to put it. It's just a different feel. And so, but I really enjoyed it. I think there's new interesting ideas brought in with certain things. And like I said, this is very important for the future of the EU going forward. So, though I expect, me personally, I haven't read it yet, but I expect to like the second one a lot more. However, there are a lot of people who hate the next two books. We'll see how I feel when I get to it. Like I said, this trilogy is very divisive amongst people. It's really either two things, I think. People either love it or they hate it, is usually what I've seen from looking at reviews and stuff of it. So, we'll see. But as for this first one, I enjoyed it. It was fun. But I'm going to get into spoilers now. If you want more detail, find someone else. And if it sounds interesting to you at all, then you should go buy it and read it yourself. So, Jedi Academy, Jedi Search. First thing, this is written by Kevin J. Anderson. He's he writes a lot of stuff in the EU. A lot of it's like children's stuff. Though not all of it, because like I know that he did the Young Jedi Knights series, which I don't know if I'll ever be able to read, because finding copies of those is really, really difficult. So I don't even know if I'll mention it. I might mention it in the New Jedi Order, but I don't know if I'll actually be able to read it myself. Mara Jade gets a mention, because, you know, when Luke's trying to think about doing this, it's, you know, he thinks about contacting her, but she's busy doing the smuggler stuff at the moment, so. Luke is recovering from the dark side, because during the Dark Empire trilogy, he did join the dark side. Now, the intention was to do stuff behind the Emperor's back and then defeat him, but he actually started succumbing. It's a big part of this book, and I believe it'll be a big part of the next 2 books. You know, yeah, I gotta train a new Jedi Order, because we gotta bring balance back to the Force. We need Jedi to be around. We need a new, you know, order. But what if someone turns to the dark side? Will I be able to bring them back? Will I be able to make them good again like I did with my father? Because that's not going to work with everybody. And I have to bear the responsibility of, if someone turns bad, that's on me. Because I will be training them, giving them the knowledge and the ability to control their power. And if they use that for bad, that's on me. So that's the thing throughout the book. So, as I said in the non-spoiler, Luke asks the New Republic Council to have a new Jedi Order Academy. I really like that scene. I don't know, I feel like shows the growth. And it's just like really exciting, because this is a really big moment for Luke. This is the last thing that Obi-Wan asked him to do. He said, look, you're the last of the old Jedi, but it's time for you to bring in the new. And it's been a couple years since the Thrawn trilogy, and he hasn't done it yet. So this is a big moment for him. You know, and he takes off his hood like he does in Return of the Jedi, and he says, now is the time. And there's only one guy that's like, yeah, but what about the dark side? What if one of your guys turns bad? And he's like, that is a fair point. But we still need the Jedi. And it's going to be worth the risk, regardless. And everyone else pretty much unanimously agrees that they're with him. They're with Luke. So, I thought it was really cool. Han and Chewie, as I said in non-spoilers, are going to Kessel, but of course, stuff doesn't go right, and they get put in prison in Kessel. Luke goes to a planet looking for a Force-sensitive guy and ends up finding Gantoris. It's really interesting because I don't remember the other character's name, I forget, but Gantoris does have Force potential, but you know, he kind of seems like the guy that would have it, you know, like he looks like tough and stuff, and but there's a more quiet like character that's also there that also has a lot of potential, but it's just nice to have like the dichotomy, I guess, you know, like who you would expect to be a Jedi, and then like kind of like a more timid person. Oh, yeah. Lando lost his business to Sabacc. Remember the mining business that he had in the Thrawn trilogy? Apparently after that, the New Republic, I mean, yeah, you had the Dark Empire stuff happening, but regardless, the New Republic was giving him plenty of money to fix up the place that got messed up. But he bet it in a Sabacc game, and he lost it. Freaking Lando, man. While Han and Chewie are in the Kessel Mines, they meet a person named Kip Durin. A kid. And he's going to be very important later. But yes, he is definitely Force sensitive. I found out in this book that it's 7 years since Return of the Jedi. So it's been 2 years since the Thrawn trilogy. Jason and Jane are coming to Coruscant, and it's just nice to have them be with their mother. Because right now they're just babies, and it's really cool though or maybe toddlers, but it's just nice to see them. I know their future ultimately. I don't know like individual books. I know big character arcs for them. So anytime they're happy is good for me, because that won't last forever. So it's good to see them. Han, Chewie, and Kip escape Kessel through the Maw. The Maw is like this whole like crazy thing that people aren't supposed to go through, but they do it because Star Wars and the Force protect you. But what do they find there? But an Empire installation where they're doing stuff like science and stuff, and they have no idea what's been going on these past 7 years. Past 10 years if you count episode 4 for going through the entire original trilogy. They have no idea what's going on. They are out of the loop. So they get captured now by these Empire people. And we find out about Admiral Dala, a female admiral who was Tarkin's lover. Or previous lover. And he gave her like this position. What I like about this book specifically is, I know there's other books that do it earlier on, but we get like a kinder picture of the Empire. Because now I'm sure the only reason that Tarkin would have put some of these people here is purely to use them, not because he actually cared about them. Just like, Palpatine doesn't like aliens, but he saw how good Thrawn was, so he had to have them. Regardless of how he felt about aliens. But we have Twi'leks. We have Twi'leks working for the Empire. At least in this installation, we have Twi'leks that are working for him. There's a Twi'lek called Kui who helped create certain concepts for the Death Star and the World Devastators, which we saw in Dark Empire. And now there's a new one, or at least one that we just learned about, which is the Sun Crusher. Another, basically, destroyer thing. It is, I understand people's complaints. I don't mind it, because I think the Emperor would have numerous amounts of these for multiple reasons, because he wants to stay in power as much as possible and have all possible ways of defeating his opponents. And because of the Yuuzhan Vong, which we will not get to till New Jedi Order, but it just makes sense that you would have all this stuff. But I understand why people get annoyed that it's like in every one of these books. I noticed already, and I know it's going to be a thing in the next couple books, but Kip does have some dark side thoughts. It's very subtle in this one. I'm sure it won't be in the other ones, but I think the mindset right off the bat that, I want to learn how to control these senses that I have, so that way I can never be powerless again. That's already, not the right mindset to have. It's already thinking about power over, because the light side is, using the Force, whereas the dark side is about making the Force do what you want. Taking control. And so, and of course, Han, really just seems to like Kip. His kids, are still, toddlers and stuff and babies. But, if their kids were already, Kip's age, he'd probably, feel the same way. Because I feel like he kind of takes, a mentor sort of, position. He really likes Kip. And I like that he just, kind of feels like a part of the gang once they escape. They used the Sun Crusher, by the way, to escape, which is a cool part of the book. Oh, yeah. So we get to the end of the book. Sorry, I don't feel like there's too much to say beyond that in this book. I feel like more stuff's going to happen in the next two. But, guess what? This was written in the 90s, before the prequels. Oh, and what's this? Luke uses a device to see the potential in Kip for the Force? But the midichlorians, the midichlorians ruin the mystery of the Force. That's always something I hear. People be like, oh, the prequels suck because the midichlorians, they make something scientific out of something that was spiritual. It's still both. And here's a book. The prequels didn't exist yet. They don't call it midichlorians or anything, but they're using a device to scan your potential. the midichlorians. But it's okay in this book? Or is that one of the reasons people hate it? I don't know. But there's just, I hate the people that hate. I dislike how people actively hate the prequels. Are they the best directed? No. Are they horrible movies? No, they're not. They're better than the sequels. The sequels may be better directed, may be better acted in some aspects, may be better looking. But plot-wise and faithfulness to Star Wars, no. And regardless how you feel about the prequels, George Lucas is the creator of Star Wars. So his vision is always going to be what matters most. Disney sequels are not his vision. So, if you hate midichlorians, whatever. But George Lucas introduced it, and he's the deciding factor on what gets to be true and not. It's his stuff. He can do whatever the hell he wants with it. He created it. Sorry, I went off on a rant. People that hate the prequels, if they don't like it, that's fine. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. But sometimes their opinion on it is flawed. That the critiques that they have of it are not warranted or fair critiques, I'd say. But yeah, he uses a device to see the midichlorians within Kip. I'm sure neither of them know that, but he is using a device for it. And he does find out, not through the device though, because the device shows it's like freaking out. So he has to try something else. They did it earlier with him and Leia, where he's like, practicing with her and like trying to pierce into her mind, and she blocks him out. Kip does the same thing just by instinct. And so he's like, Kip is strong in the Force, which is important for later. And then when Luke first came to the planet earlier, where he met Gantoris said he had visions of him, or what he thought was him, because, Luke wears, like, the black suit that he wore in Episode 6. But, he freaks out because he saw something dark, and that was going to try to ruin them or whatever. But that wasn't Luke. But that may be important for later. And lastly, this entire Legends continuity uses ABY and AAY to distinguish between time. ABY is before the Battle of Yavin, and or BBY, and then ABY is after the Battle of Yavin. So, because that's the planet that the Death Star was going to try to destroy at the end of Episode 4. And so, Yavin 4, the planet that the Rebels were originally using in Episode 4 as like a hideout, is now going to be the place for the new Jedi Academy. And that'll be and that's going to be a thing for, I think, for like the remainder of this, of the timeline. So that's really cool. But anyway, that's about it for Jedi Search. Guys, enjoy this video, get a thumbs up. Sharing helps out a ton. Don't forget to subscribe. And I'll see you when we go through Dark Apprentice. See you then.